Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. We can now.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Good. I'll go back on mute. Nice to see everyone.
Nice to see you too. Okay, hello everyone. Yeah, my name is Patrick. I'm your host for today's Fireside session with Ezinne Udezue. So, yeah, good day. Okay, so before we begin, I'd like to introduce our fellow Deca devs, some of us. So with a short video, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rafia, a full-stack PHP WordPress developer. Though I have a degree in applied geology, I picked up interest in tech, having observed that every development today are tech-driven. Aside being a PHP WordPress full-stack engineer, I've worked with React.js, SCSS, Postgres, MySQL, Git, project management tools such as GitHub, Jira, and Smartsheet. I believe every software engineer has to have soft skills in effective communication, open-mindedness, and creativity. When I'm not coding, I'm listening to music, going for a road walk, and holding mentoring section for younger ones.
Hello, I'm Ransom Ahanmisi, and I am an Android engineer. I graduated from the University of Benin with a bachelor's degree in computer science, and I'm passionate about change, I'm passionate about growth, I'm passionate about people. I'm a leader, so I get the privilege to be with people often. That has taught me to work as a team player and also to make strategic decisions. I would like to be a part of the next big thing. I like to bring change to the world and make life better for people with the apps I design. I like to be a part of the team that makes the next big app. Yeah, I love challenges. They push me to grow. I'm a problem solver. I have a say. If it has not been done before, it can be done by me. If it can be done, then it can be done by me. I believe I have all it takes in me to change the world around me for good. It's nice to meet you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ezinne Udezue. I'm a result-driven software developer. I am dedicated to building scalable and efficient applications in the most innovative method. I adapt to latest technological advancements and build software with them. I do love to listen to rock music when I'm not coding, and I love to read about wildlife. I love to join a team of engineers who are dedicated and passionate about taking a product from development to production in the most effective manner. When you are looking for any engineer who is also passionate like that, I am your right fit.
Hi, my name is Vivian Obiako. I'm a full-stack PHP WordPress developer. I obtained a bachelor's degree from the University of Port Harcourt. I'm passionate about technology and how it can be used to help people solve problems. I also love meeting new people. I also love trying out new things. I aspire to be a senior developer at a renowned software engineering company, helping them build solutions that can transform the world. I believe my skills and my experience are a good fit for a company, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Hello, my name is TJ. I'm a full stack software engineer. I studied chemical engineering in the university, and after graduating, I picked up coding. I fell in love with coding when I realized how passionate I am when I'm solving problems. I actually love being challenged. I would like to say that I love leadership. I'm passionate about leadership, and I will describe myself as a team player. I love being part of an organization that is using technology to solve problems and to create value. When I'm not working, I like coding robots for fun, and I also like taking a walk in the cool of the day. Thank you.
That's good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. That was good.
Okay. All right, so that's a short video of all of us, or some of us, telling about ourselves. So before we continue, I'd like to tell the house. So this is Ezinne. She's the vice president for the product management team currently at Procore. So I'd like you to please tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do there, and your journey so far in tech space, basically.
Well, it is such an honor to be here and to meet with you. Chika and I kind of go way back, and I'm very proud to just be a part of all the goodness that's happening here. As mentioned, I'm Ezinne Udezue. I was born in Nigeria. I've actually lived in the US for a long time. I'd rather not say how long, but I'm still very tied to Nigeria. As a matter of fact, my husband just got back a couple weeks ago, so we're really still close to everything everything that's going on there. I actually went to FUTO, Federal University of Technology, Owerri. That's where I met my husband. Back then, I only stayed for 4 months before we had our strike, and then my father packaged me to the US because he wanted to make sure I graduated before he retired. That was very important to him, and he figured having a graduate would ensure that at least somebody could earn before he retired. So that's my story of getting to the US. I wasn't supposed to be here. It was going to be my brother. Long story short, came to the US. I was still very young. So I actually went from FUTO back to high school in the US, but ended up at a college called University of Texas in Arlington, which is actually pretty popular. It's a small college. It isn't one of the big name schools. It was kind of something I could afford and go to. And I studied electrical engineering. The beauty of a small school is that I was able to really do well and thrive and succeed. Found my first job as a systems engineer, building cell towers and BTSs and HLRs. Nigeria, we're into telco. I'm sure y'all are very familiar with the telco industry. But after that, I ended up going back, and I had spent some time in the United States, and I had kind of learned that to be successful, I actually had to stand out. So I went and went for a PhD program at Stanford University, which is a pretty challenging school to get into. I will tell you that I had one of my biggest failures ever because I flunked out of PhD. I actually didn't flunk out, but I decided it wasn't worth the effort. I had worked already. I knew what it was to make money, and spending 6 years didn't make sense. It didn't compute for me. So after getting my master's, I left. I went and instead started at Stanford University. That's kind of the birthplace of a lot of this whole idea of VC, startups, et cetera. And then that also is actually a core part of the modern day product management. Through a whole bunch of careers with T-Mobile in the media industry, e-commerce, I've landed at Procore Technologies. Procore builds a platform that actually serves the construction industry. So if you've been driving and you've gone to this amazing building, whether it's Burj Khalifa, or you just looked at the Opera House in Sydney, if you just looked at that building and wondered, oh my gosh, how did they do that? Like, what did it take to actually build something like that? That's what I focus on. I build a platform that connects the people who fund it, or who we call owners, the people who do the capital planning and bring the money, then the architects and engineers who do the blueprint, right? Then you have to go get project managers, who you call the general contractors, to coordinate the window people, the glass people, roof people, concrete people, all of that. Somebody has to orchestrate all of that, right? And that's what Procore does. For many years, nobody served them. And you would go in and you'd see people literally holding blueprints, right, at the top of the buildings with cranes. It just isn't safe. So Procore has taken all that and made it into software. And I actually lead the team that runs the platform organization. I have a background in innovation from my past, but I also have a background in systems engineering. So that's what makes me effective at leading platform teams that want to scale. So that's the gist of my history. I currently live in Austin, Texas, having lived in very many places in the United States, all the way from the West Coast, San Francisco, Seattle, to the East Coast, Connecticut, New York. I hope that helps. I hope it gives you context for who I am.
Oh, yeah, it does. It does. It really does. Okay, so I was a little curious. So like, it seems like you've worked like at about like 11 places so far since graduation, maybe. And the first 3 places I'd say was like you're a systems architect, systems engineer,
Systems and
and then all of a sudden I'm seeing product management, product management, product management, and it's like, what happened? Why did you change? What happened? Like,
so
why did you just like decide to
make that just so let me tell you why. Part of the reason, okay, so I worked at Motorola and I was a systems engineer, and I'm hardcore. I just love to be like, if I'm doing something, the truth of the matter is I would always get asked to do customer calls, like go and do customer calls, go do this. And I personally took offense. Number one, is it because I'm a woman? Like, I'm just being really vulnerable and open with you. Like, why? Why am I the one that people are making to go do customer calls? Or if they want to go and to talk to like Etisalat, somebody who needs to put a tower, I'm the one they send. So I felt a little upset about that, which is actually why I was like, you know what, I'm going to do the hardest thing possible, where there was absolutely no doubt if I'm a strong engineer. I will find the hardest schools, MIT, Cornell, whatever, and Stanford, and I will apply, and I will be a PhD student. I will get an electrical engineering. That's just how my mind works. I know it's really crazy, right? But I did that. But as I was sitting there and realizing how miserable I was, I realized that my manager knew something about me that I didn't know about myself. I was able to take technology and software, systems thinking, and I was also good with people, right? So through that, like listening to the PhD thing and going, oh my God, I have to take this test, be here for 6 years, I really had to soul search and ask myself, what makes me happy? And what made me the most happy was thinking about problems systematically, right? Being really smart and intelligent about software and what software can do. And then also talking to customers and understanding what problem they want to solve. I thought that was what engineers do, and to an extent, that is what they do. But there had been a birth of a new discipline called product management, and I uncovered that while I was at Stanford. And that's from that day on. Once I discovered that, I kind of started taking a lot more classes around creative thinking and problem solving and general user research. And then I formed my career this was in 2000. God dang it, 2000. And then I became a product manager from that point on.
Oh, that is amazing. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to ask again. Why tech though? Like, yeah, why? Why? It could be anything else, anything else, anything else. Why tech? Why this?
In Nigeria, you could be a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever, right? So when I was in Nigeria, I picked technology because it felt like it was closer to this idea of solving problems in a way that I could control, right? Transparently, I wanted to be a secret agent. That was my first choice, right? When I matured out of that, I read too much Famous Five. I don't even know if any of you are familiar with that, but my mind was always trying to solve problems. I really came to the United States to be a spy. That's what I came to do. But long story short, when I was in Nigeria, that's when I made the choice. I made that choice by going to FUTO. I was already studying electrical engineering in FUTO. So tech seemed to have problems. Engineering specifically was a problem-solving discipline. So that's what made me take it. And you get something, you look at your toolkit, and then you solve it with whatever you have, right? You actually have to use either the language you know how to code in, you have to use the technology. It could be old technology, but that is what you have, and you use it to apply it and solve a problem. So it was an application, it was a practice of sorts. That's why I chose tech. The other things seemed to, like medicine, seemed like I just had to memorize and then hope I figure it out. Accounting seemed boring as hell. That was my first choice. My father literally pulled me out of the accounting program because he's an accountant. He was like, there's no way you're going to do that. You'll just be bored. And law was just not my thing. I don't like writing. Now I have to, but I don't like writing, it's boring. So tech seemed to be just the right fit.
Okay, okay. All right, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so in all the places you've worked in, all the teams you've led, all the products you've brought out, what would you say is the most challenging thing you've done? What is the most challenging place you've worked in, or the most challenging thing you've taken care of, or the most challenging product? What would you classify as this is very challenging? This is the one thing I've done that I will not forget.
Okay, the one thing I will never forget, it was my biggest project, my first big project, and it will date me, but I worked at T-Mobile USA, and at that point in time, we had LG, Nokia, Motorola. These are the people who made phones, okay? And I had this project where T-Mobile was launching something called My Fave 5, 5 circles, and now you hear the word my faves. It actually came from that project that I product managed a long time ago. 20 or so years ago. Coordinating, right? T-Mobile sells, but we don't make any of that stuff, right? The thing is, coordinating against all these cell phone manufacturers to launch something in the US, and as I was also asked to do the same thing in the UK, writing specifications for every single device manufacturer was hard. It was hard, not only the job was hard, but I was actually pretty young. I was Black, I was a woman, and I was the one telling them, this is how you must do it. And I remember very clearly the architect wanted us to use something called an 8-bit binary for our encoding. Like we had to do messages back. And I, small me, told them, I'm sorry, we're going to have to use 16-bit, right? And I was pushing the architect. And the reason I was pushing them was I know that if I had Ezinne with the tone here, 8-bit characters will not fit my name. And nor would it fit in UK, right? So like after 2 months of building with 8-bit encoding, I was pushing them and saying 16-bit. I literally know that I had to walk in and kind of pound my fist. So I just remember that whole experience. And that's why I'll never forget it. I've done a lot more things, but that one made me in many ways because I stood up against a very senior architect. You know, imagine this young woman coming back and saying, nope, it's wrong. No, it's wrong. I'm sorry, can I say, but it's wrong. Please, people will listen to me. It's wrong. Like that's what I had to keep doing. And we eventually did well, and it was very successful. It was very successful. Like the NBA carried it as one of its core. They're one of the promoters for it back in those days. So that's one I'll never forget.
Okay, all right, that's really cool. So any of us who does have any other questions that you'd like to ask Ms. Ezinne, please do. You can drop it in the chat, so we'll check it out from there. Or you could raise your hands or something. Okay, so one more question from me. You're a mentor right now, so we need mentorship. Is there a way, or is there something you'd like to tell us? Sorry, did you say something?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So if there's something you'd like to tell us, advice, anything at all to help us in our journey through this space. I mean, we're just starting, just anything at all you'd like to tell us that will help us, please, we'd appreciate it.
So let me start with something that's been on my mind recently. As a person of color in the United States, there's a lot of talk about coding and Black people and all that stuff. And it's just been on my mind that there seems to be a lot of emphasis on coding, right? Just coding, right? I think, and this is also tied to the advice I will give anyone who ever listens to me, it's this idea of learning and always having a stance of learning. But specifically to this idea of coding, I think that there are many coders, and I'm not even saying that you are coders, right? And I'll tell you what I mean by the difference is that my fear for the Black folks in America is that we will really talk about coding. They'll learn the bare minimum and not understand the science behind it or the engineering behind development, right? So I think that's the one that's on my mind. What are the algorithms? Why do the algorithms work? What is the logic behind it? What are the computational methods, right? I think that's an important thing that I want to impart with when I just got back from high school, just talking to a high school for girls, and that's what I just wanted them to take away. It's not just what you learn today, like how do you write this script and move on. It is, do you understand what's going on and why it's going on, so that you can apply it, because the world evolves so quickly, right? So you have to have a stance of learning, and a stance of learning often means going just one level below the general high level development into understanding what's really going on. So that's the thing that's really been on my mind, because I just see a huge emphasis, particularly in this country, on, oh, let's teach them JavaScript, let's teach them Java. But the reality is that more money comes from, deeper, more complex programs, and it also is tied to this idea of understanding the computational design behind the language, etc. So that's one thing, but let me abstract it and talk about it, the broader idea of learning. If you think you know, you don't keep yourself open to knowing, to learning. So if I was going to leave like this idea of just, hey, let me Google that, let me learn more, let me do what others won't do, right? That's a stance I personally have. It's not that they can't do it, it's not, but it's just that they just won't do it. They won't bother. So there's opportunity found when you do things that others won't. And then, when I give advice to my team, I always say learning, relationship, impact. Those are the things that I say. If you focus on those things and go where people won't or do what others won't, I think you win. Stay learning, stay open, because you grow in that process. Relationships. I'm meeting all of you now, right? But what happens after that? Or y'all are together, right? If you spend the time knowing each other, many of you will go and do really amazing things, right? And that opens up your network to the others. So just keeping those relationships are really critical. Don't be just a taker. Like, try to understand who they are, what makes them tick, who their family is, what their challenges are. I think that when I pick up the phone and ask, someone, hey, how's your mom doing? It just takes the relationship to a different level. And then the last piece I always say is impact. Most people think money, 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 money. I think that when I have somebody on my team or for myself, when I have everybody focus on what is it that I can do as an employee that will drive impact for the business. Every time people do that, the money follows. They're getting a spiff, they're getting a raise, whatever it is. So my hope is that people in your career, while you are focusing on, promotion and this and that, those things are hard to grasp. But the thing you can focus on, right, is impact. If you focus on impact, the money will follow. If you focus on impact, the promotions will follow, right? So think about what is it that, and sorry, I'm going to go on a tangent. Now in product, you keep hearing outcome, outcome, outcome. Did the needle move? Did we get customer adoption to this amount? Da, 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 da. That's all good, right? But the difference between outcome and impact is this. If you only moved, let's just say you were able to move adoption by 12%, right? But what the company actually needed was 20%, right? Or like that, yes, you drove amazing results, or you had good customer impact, you were able to move the needle, but did that impact the business? Was that a problem worth solving? That's what I mean by impact. That's the difference between outcome and business impact. So that's something for product people. That's what I talk about. I ask, are you learning? Are you developing relationships? And are you driving impact? And then go where others won't, do what others won't. Question? Should I answer the ones on? Okay, I'll take a chance. Chika, did you raise your hand?
Yes, I
Yes,
did.
I'm like, yes, go for it.
Okay.
I can share that. Okay. Thank you, Ezinne. This has been really helpful, very interesting. Thank you for taking our time. You're managing products or managing product managers who work with developers. What distinguishes one developer from another? Which ones do you like the best? What is it about them?
I am glad you asked. My one of my partners asked me that just yesterday. I lost one of my employees, so now I have to fill that role. So I'm working directly with one of my directors, and he said, "Isn't it what would make me stand apart?" And I said, "Listen, product-focused developers are my heart, right? And what does that mean? It means exactly what I just said to you. People who ask the questions of why are we doing this, not in an arrogant way, but really trying to understand the reason behind why we are working on this thing. Just because if you understand, you can own. And when you own, you can actually decide and design properly, right? So product-focused developers, or let's not say product, people who are trying to understand the why. Why are we doing this? Again, I'm not saying question. It's just like, listen, just help bring me along. Just keep using those words. Help me bring me along as to the reason why we're doing this. Oh, okay, so we're doing it because we want to improve user experience. Great. How bad is it? Like, because the question is not every problem is worth solving, right? So even helping your product manager step back and say, that's good. Again, not in a challenging way, because product people have ego and they will cast you out if they don't like how you approach it. So that to me is and I used to run innovation for a bit, and then what I prized was people who were quick, who could just, there's no like, they find a way to make it happen, period, right? So I like that combination. I used to call them magicians, because I would be thinking about something in the night, I'd come in the morning, and then all of a sudden they've done it. I'm like, wow, it was on my mind. I can't write code to make it happen. So those are two things that I love about, that's what makes developers stand out for me.
Fantastic, thanks.
You're very welcome. TJ, I think that's what, the video said you're TJ.
All right, thank you. It's been nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was looking through your LinkedIn, and I saw that point you were like an advisor on the board of advisor for an institution. So I was curious. I wanted to know how you got to that. Like, how did it happen? And were you working full time elsewhere, even while an advisor?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to know.
Yeah, I just got asked last year, so it's a very new thing, and it's the school that I went to, the university I went to. I told you about University of Texas at Arlington. They just asked me, and I'm working full time. But more importantly, I'm helping them, number one, with their startup accelerator. That's something I've done in the past, and I'm also helping them with student experience and fundraising. While it looks really sexy on the freaking resume, the reality is it's more help to them than anything. That's really what it is. And also I'm there to help them raise money. I really loved the university. It was, from a Nigerian young woman coming in, not knowing what's going on. It was small enough. They were kind enough. And I became very involved in the community life, student life. So it's just a good place. It was a good nursery for me to grow. So that's why I'm giving back.
Okay. The reason I asked is, as a developer, I want to know how I can actually contribute also. Like, should I get such a request? And how to actually manage it, like combining my work with my own affect, knowing fully well that fine, these people need me to do this other thing, which is not like coding, but it's a good thing. And I would like to be a part of it. So how do I combine it?
So number one, know your limit. Like, I've turned down so many things. Like last week, it was something I really would have loved to do. It was a great ask. It would have looked great on my resume, but I'm tapped out. I don't have the bandwidth to do it. Right? Even when Chika and I were talking, I was like, okay, what do you need exactly? How many hours? Like, I'm always like, how many hours? I don't want to sign up for something that I will suck at, because that actually affects your brand and reputation. So be thoughtful. Look at your life and say, okay, how many shows on TV are you watching? Okay, then calculate that and say, okay, can I take 1 hour out of that maybe and apply it somewhere else?
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so next person, Deha.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, the question I would like to ask is as regards how developers over there perceive developers over here. Because over time I've been privileged to do some online, some freelancing, and we get to see some discrimination online on freelancer side. They tend to perceive us generically like as fraudsters and all that. So I first of all like to ask first, how critically do developers over there perceive developers over here? And is it like the normal school settings when even after you've attended university here in Nigeria, you get over there, there's some maybe a diploma program you have to run before you can absorb it to university, into the university. So how is it like over there? Are we perceived as competent people or folks that have to just relearn again before we can join the team over there or something? Thanks.
So it depends, right? And I don't think it's a developer thing, if just being transparent with you. Number one, our country hasn't done us well necessarily. We are perceived as fraudsters, right? But I will tell you another thing, but we also perceived as very intelligent. There is a perception out there that we love school, we love learning. So number one, how do you carry yourself? That will actually help, right? When pedal hits the metal, or whatever they say. But the truth is, and the truth remains, that Americans, right, and Europeans perceive themselves as better. Number one, generally, right? Number two, there is still discrimination, right? So even I here that went to school here, right? I had to have 4 degrees so that I can sit down at the table with somebody who never even graduated. Just being really honest here, right? When I sit down at the board meeting, I literally am going, if somebody says, they're making fun of me. Why did you have to go and get 4 degrees? And I was like, turn around and say, listen, if I didn't get the 4 degrees, would I be sitting here with you? That's why. It's what y'all have done in this country. So you have to be excellent, okay? The idea of, do you have to relearn? Not necessarily, right? But the truth of the matter is sometimes the perception is that our educational system has failed us, so there may be gaps in learning, right? There is that idea out there. But again, it comes down to results and impact, right? Prove yourself and prove yourself again and prove yourself again. And over time, your reputation will stand strong, right, for you. But I don't know that it is a developer over here versus there, because the same thing is happening, right? When Eastern Europe, the developers were coming out, people didn't perceive them as high quality, right? And then all of a sudden they proved themselves, so they are viewed as a viable alternative. Then India came up and they're also like, what is this, right? And over time they proved themselves as a viable alternative. So I think we're just having to ride that as well, like proving ourselves as a viable alternative. Does that make sense? Do you understand? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Rafiat, your question, please. Are you here?
I'm here. Good day, everyone. My question is this. You've lived in Nigeria and you understand the Nigerian factor, and living abroad, you succeeded in your field. Now, most of us here are trying to break into the US tech space. What advice do you have for us, and maybe a journey path that we can actually explore?
So I'm going to make an assumption that when you say succeed in the US, you mean come to the US and then succeed in the US. But I'll also try and abstract it out. I personally like to observe and then adjust. And I hope to God that when you guys are going through this, it's not the same. But I came in and realized what succeeding looked like in this country, right? Which is why I went and got the failed PhD and this and that and the other. As a Black person or a Black woman, right? You honestly just have to be excellent. I'm sorry. That is what it takes. It is. You have to show up, do your best, and do your best again. I wish I could say, oh, just do this. No, it is show up every day and just be great. You cannot be mediocre. It is unfortunate, not because you're doing it for others, right? But you are, but because there is a question as to whether you are good enough. That is just a fact. I hope to God it gets better over time. But when I say I watched and played the game, is I realized that, wow, if I want to, I have to go to one of the best schools. That's why I applied to Stanford. And after that, I was like, wow, okay, if I get an Ivy League school, that's what I knew it took to win. So whatever scope you want, right? Just ask yourself, what is it going to take to get to sit at that table and work hard towards it? Okay? There's this idea, I've seen Nigerians come in here and be like very, what's the word, gra, right? I really believe in this idea of humility and hunger. That's it. If you're humble and just hungry like nobody else, I think it'll help you succeed. People will say, "Oh, network, whatever." Just be you. If you're not an extrovert, you're not an extrovert. But find a way to figure out what is it like. Study the system, whatever system it is. I can't, it's hard to. I don't know your particular situation, Rafiat, right? But study your system, understand it, because I can advise you for your specific, but understand it and figure out, is it relationships that make it work? Is it the ability to present and talk that makes it work? Like, you find out what is it that winning looks like and just do it and be great at it. If you're not good, ask for help. If you're not good, reach out to people like on this call to help you, right? Seek mentors, advisors, etc. But know what it means to succeed and systematically go after it. That's what I did. I literally said, okay, for me to be this, I think I have to have I have to go beyond a bachelor. So I was like, okay, let me go get something else, right? So it just, I had to look each time. And after I was like, crap, I need an MBA. Okay, if I want to be on the board seat, I need an MBA. Okay, let me go get an MBA. So it's just, I studied what it is that I needed to break through all the ceilings that were in front of me. I hope that helps. It's not easy. It's like saying something, like, I'm just gonna say it. It's not gonna be easy, but that's what it means, like doing what others won't. Let me see real quick. Hush puppy effect. What kind of networking events do I find valuable? Gosh, networking events. Okay, I'll tell you something. One thing I noticed about conferences is that many people will, after the conference and there's a speaker on stage, everybody runs to the speaker. Haha, I didn't do that. I instead would actually spend time with the attendees, right? Like, oh, let's say you're from New York. Oh, tell me about, and I built a relationship with them. Guess what? Because there's one speaker and 1,000 attendees, right? And all of a sudden, I built relationship, and they're the ones who go out and like, oh crap, okay, I'm interviewing with Facebook. That friend I reached out to, hey, can you tell me how this happens in Facebook? The speaker, I can go read their bio and get all their information, but this person is a connection. So that's one trick I found for networking events. People tend to focus so much on the star when networking is about networking, like really finding true friends who can help you beyond that day, who you know that you will reach out to and add them into your board of advisors. There's this idea, I don't like mentors necessarily. I call people my board of advisors, because it's not just one person, it's maybe 15 people, maybe 5 in, 10 out. And I just ask them, sometimes somebody's really good at funding, the other person is good at this, so I just call on them as I need them.
Okay, so there's this question from Gift Peters. What advice do you have for women who are in the field of technology experiencing imposter syndrome? What do you have to say about that?
Okay, my husband says this to me all the time. He always says, they don't have two heads, and you could run the world, right? He's joking, but he's not. He's basically saying, many people in power are not better in any way than you. They're not smarter in any way than you. They simply had the opportunity. So don't psych yourself out of it. So Gift, I think that was the name, right? I struggle, like I personally struggle. After all, I went like, been educated, done this, done that, but even I go, oh oh my God, can I do this? Oh my goodness, can I do this? It's psychological. It really is. It is. I don't know what it is, but I hear that men don't go through it as much, but I'm learning that that's not the case. Some men do. It's just simply psychological. You have to talk yourself out of it and remind yourself that it's just a matter of opportunity. Like somebody probably got the opportunity, but you have the same brains, you have the same, you have a lot of what is needed to succeed. If Oprah has imposter syndrome sometimes, Michelle Obama has imposter syndrome sometimes, then it is just what it is, right? So find out what is it going to take to be successful. I just recorded a speech. I'm at a conference yesterday. I recorded it because it's a virtual event, and you see how much I beat myself up of, oh my goodness, I can't speak, I can't do this, I can't do that. In the end, record it, hit send, you're done. So just honestly psych yourself out of it, and it will never be perfect. You'll never get everything 100% right. It is that idea of perfection that stops us from speaking up and owning our voice. So as a female, you belong. There's nothing like, I wish I could just sit down, and get a recording and have someone psyching you, play that on. I have some psych music, right? And I play that whenever I'm like in a funk. So I hope that helps.
Okay, Ransom, please, can you move forward with your question? Yeah, are you here?
Yeah, I can. I thought it was no longer necessary. It's nice to meet you, Ezinne. You make me want to give more time to product management, really. I went through your LinkedIn, your profile, and I've been spending time. Nokia, Motorola, Baza Voice, Time Inc., T-Mobile. Really, I really like you to get personal about this. Why, in 13 years of your career, why do you have to be with so many companies? Because I think there is something to learn there. Do you understand? Yeah, for someone to build this kind of success, then their story, their paths to teach you something. So we are mostly advised, stick to one thing, stay there, stay in the company 10 years, and join a startup so that you will be part of. That is the advice we get. But I think that doesn't work for everybody, and your case is different. So what would you advise?
So first, it's 18 years, and in 18 years, I've been at 6 companies. Okay. We divide that up. It's a decent time in each one. But my profile looks long because I started a company, I run an angel fund, and I'm an advisor at a university and an accelerator. So those look like a lot of jobs. But you're onto something. I spent almost 10 years at T-Mobile. Why? Because it was evolving and my job was changing every 3 years, right? I get bored easily. That is just me. Like, I am a creative at heart and I need to be learning, right? And I need to be contributing. Those are the two things that matter to me. At T-Mobile, for 9 years, that was an era of development, and we were just growing and learn. Like, let me give you an example. When I was the first product manager for MMS, just so you understand, I was putting cameras on phones. So you get it, right? But by the time I left, we were talking Twitter. So in that time, so think about all the changes that occurred in that time. So the job was changing. That isn't like, so I think that most times it depends on the culture. I was talking to somebody just yesterday about this. Jumping and hopping around is not a good thing. I do not subscribe to it. I don't, right? But you have to ask yourself again, am I having impact and am I learning? That is ultimately what it comes down to me. So when I moved from T-Mobile, I was in school doing an MBA and all that, right? I moved to New York and I went to Discovery Media. Discovery creates content and all these TV shows, etc. I was learning so much, but I was using something I was already good at. I was very good at product. There was no doubt. The person who hired me there had worked with me at T-Mobile. But I was learning So I always ask myself, a job has to have a component of learning as well as contribution. So it has to have some tension. 60-40 is generally what I like, or 70-30. The reason I left Discovery, honestly, was very personal. I've never stayed at a company for that short time. I stayed there for just a year and maybe 8 months. And it was because because the person who hired me left, and the person who became my manager, in my opinion, had a lot of prejudice against me. So I did something I've never done. My husband wasn't working. And we just walked out. He had a startup. I just walked out. I was not happy. My father reminded me that I'm Ezinne, his daughter, Nigerian. I don't have to take bullshit if I don't need to. And that's what I did. Just walked out. Told him peace. But every other job, I've generally stayed 2 years or more, because I think it takes at least 2 years to see the result and impact of something you started. So again, I do not believe in hopping around, but I also don't believe in stay there forever, man. Like, if you are not learning, if you're not growing, and you can't show your impact, which is like, if you're not learning and growing, that's what I always associate with if you've been there too long. But then if you can't point to your impact, how can you come somewhere and in 1 year have impact? Like, really? So not mean you can, but I'm just saying, like, it takes time to see the things you're putting together come to life. So I'm a believer in, like, hey, there's a fixed amount, there's some time. I think it's generally somewhere between 2 and 6 years that you really should invest and grow something. But there's no prescription.
Oh, thank you. That
Okay.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Kingsley, please move forward with your question. Are you here?
Yeah, hello, Ezinne. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. So you talked about accelerator program. I would like to know more about it. For someone who looks to own a startup, do you advise me enrolling for an accelerator program, or is there room for me to be part of your accelerator program?
I don't run my accelerator program. I'm a lead mentor for Techstars and another accelerator called Div Inc. That's kind of, so it's not mine. You have to apply and go through the normal process. I believe in accelerator programs because I think that being a founder is lonely. I think being a founder can be hard. I think that finding your way on your own can be challenging. So what accelerators do is they offer some backing, some foundation for you, right? They have classes, training, but also they offer community. And I think those are really helpful. That's my pitch for accelerators, particularly if it's your first time, or even if it's not your first time, but you haven't found success. Let's say you did one already and it wasn't successful.
Yeah.
I think being around others like you help. So I do Div Inc. Div Inc. is targeted at underrepresented and underestimated founders. So Black women, men, Latinos, Latinas, and Latinx, I guess, or just people of color in the United States. I don't know about accelerator programs in Nigeria, but if there is one, right, and you have a brilliant idea that you believe needs funding, I believe accelerator programs really can be helpful, particularly the ones that don't try to take equity, unfounded equity from you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so there's this question I really like to ask you, Ms. Madam Ezinne. Yeah, what does success look like at this stage in our career for us, the Decadevs, right now?
I think it's different for each of you. Some of you want to break into the United States, others want financial security, others want to just be doing meaningful work. I can't prescribe, but if anything, I would say each of you should sit down and ask yourselves what that is. Oftentimes, it has to do with first financial stability. That's usually where it starts. And as you mature, others have a component of it is doing a specific type of work. Like, some people will not go work for certain companies because they do not think they're socially, set up properly or morally or whatever it is, right? I think you alone know what success means, but at a minimum, it's often a financial level of security that gives you options, right? I need to be working on hard problems, period. If I have a lot of money and I'm not working on hard problems, I will not feel successful. So I found out about myself, and here's why. When I left T-Mobile, I was running what they call partnerships. you would think that I'd love that. I ran Google partnership, Twitter partnership, Amazon partnership. But let me tell you what I hated. Like business development and partnerships, I could not actually, like I worked so hard on a Twitter deal, but it didn't happen, right? I worked hard on Amazon, it didn't happen. I worked hard on a Google deal and it happened, okay? But I didn't seem to have control. I couldn't draw my line from me to the impact, right? And I was so miserable because if somebody just didn't want to work with T-Mobile, right, they wouldn't sign the deal. So I know I cannot do business development. I can't. It's not my thing. It's just not my thing. I need to be able to know that I'm actually demonstrably driving outcomes for the business. So, you know, that's you
Yeah,
have to for you.
yeah, I understand totally. Mr. Chika, your hands are raised up. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah. I wanted to double click in on a theme that Ezinne has mentioned a couple of times, just about success, right? And especially earlier in the career, sort of when you get into the job, into the role. So earlier on in your career in university, you know that success is getting an A in the exam. Like all through, success is getting an A in the exam.
Yes.
But now you get into your first job. How do you determine what is success in that role? And the whole idea of impact in that role, and are you contributing? How do you figure that out?
So first you start with, for me, it's personal, right? It is first a job, right? Everybody comes from different places. You have some people who have rich parents, people who don't, right? You need to know what is enough for that, right? But for me, impact is like literally, I only have X amount of hours on earth, period. Like, let's not joke, let's not kid around. That's all we have. Where do you want to be 2 years from now? And do you have a path towards that? I mean, it's always top of mind. I'm not joking. I'm not looking for a job right now. I'm not. But guess what? My husband and I were taking a walk yesterday. I was beginning to ask myself, what would a job look like for me 2 years from now? I literally got a request from somebody very high performing in Instagram. They wanted me to come, but I said no because I'm not moving. But I started asking myself already, if I did want my next job, what would it look like? And I have to begin to plan my path towards that, right? Because if I don't know, the world isn't going to know on my behalf, right? So it's am I able to learn and learn that is that path towards my next thing? And am I able for my manager's manager to turn around and say, because you were here, we were better. That's all for me, that is success. Like my boss literally can turn around and say, my goodness, Ezinne, I really love that you built that life cycle process for us, because now everybody knows how to ship code and everybody in the organization knows what to expect when you're in pilot, beta, and launch. Because I just did something like that, right? So it's small, but it's impactful. So those are the things that matter. So to me is, I could pick anyone off the street to be sitting here filling this seat, right? As a manager. Was it worth it to have you, right? And then as you could be anywhere, doing anything with your life. Is it meaningful to be sitting in this seat? I think it's important to wrestle with that.
Sorry, guys, to be stealing or hogging the mic, right? But I still want to double click in on that, the second part, which has to do with the manager saying, because Ezinne was here, we were better. But now, when you first started the job, how do you know what to do, what it means?
Yeah, I get it.
Best way to contribute. Yes.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's expectation setting. It's so funny. I just spoke about this. It's always interesting. When you take a job, right? Most people just stumble in. It's important to actually ask, right? Whether it's your job description and right, or the contract that was brought in. What are you expecting of me? And what does good look like? It's funny how that conversation hardly ever happens. Even employees, etc. There's no idea. So I have to have this conversation with everyone saying, hey, here's what good looks like. Here's what great looks like. That's how I review all my employees, right? it needs to be a contract. It can't be, oh, did you move it from 12% to 24%? Or because sometimes you can't control that. It is, did you move from 12% to 24%? And in the process, did you make everybody else, or did you collaborate well, right? I know the situation. Did you move it from 12 to 24%? And in the process, did you communicate and align the entire organization on why this thing matters? But it's actually just having, I wouldn't call them challenging, but don't assume. Just really sit down and ask, I want to be good. I want to have impact here, okay? What does that look like to you? How can I be valuable? Don't make it up. Don't guess. Ask.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so it's really past our question time. I would have loved us to ask a lot more, but I'm really sorry we can't. So yeah, I'd like Olatunji to please give us the vote of thanks, please.
Hey, hello everyone. Hello, Ezinne. Yeah, it's been nice listening to you so far. I'm really enjoying the whole fireside chat. I'm happy to be a part of the fireside chat. You're a great representation of us, knowing that your background came from here. Okay, and on behalf of everyone on the call, I want to thank you for the opportunity to encounter you and to learn from your wealth of experience. Getting to know about your journey is inspiring. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure and an honor. Chika knows where I am. If you want to talk, just let me know, okay? I am personally inspired by what is going on here. I was going to tweet recently that we often are underestimated, right? But you all are actually sitting in a seat where you get to, we will be judged by how all of you show up. So I want to encourage you to just show up doing your best. I'm not joking. Like I'm putting myself out there. I'm really encouraging people to invest in you and take y'all on. So just the same way I, 20 years ago, knew that I had to give my best so that other women, other Black people coming around could be to get to the seat. Just know that too. I'm not trying to put a burden on you, but the idea of what a Nigerian software developer is something that you have to own and represent. So it's my honor to just get to talk to you and inspire you however I can. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
thank you very much. Yeah, okay.